almost there. No way. What is this? You're tuned in to the Eyes Open podcast, where secrets aren't safe and we see it all.
Now, to be completely honest with you, I'd be lying if I said I find anything I talk about at this point to be surprising or troubling or shocking in any way, shape, or form. I think, honestly, ever since the whole 2020 event, my brain has been pushed into a mode to have to accept the lunacy that a lot of people, for the most part, and I don't know if I'll say a lot of people, I'd say a good chunk of people still believe to be true. And we've had these discussions before about cognitive dissonance, and people have selective outrage. I've always found it funny that even if people find out about these certain things about what their governments are doing to them and carrying out provably, which I'm going to show on today's show, provably, remember, okay, this isn't conspiracy theory, this is conspiracy fact at this point, because it's declassified documents. It's from the horse's mouth that they admit to what they have done. And it doesn't just start with this rabbit hole. There's a million other rabbit holes behind it. But I find it fascinating that even with dead out proof, people, they, like I said, have selective outrage. There's certain things they will be up in arms about. They will be burning down cities over. And it's over things that really are not going to change their life whatsoever. Nowadays, a basketball team wins and they burn a whole city down. Wins, mind you. They didn't lose, they won. That's what they did recently with that whole Knicks game. They burned the freaking city down. And if, I just don't understand how people are not outraged by how they are completely living in a false reality. They truly are. Because I had somebody reach out on Instagram this was a reel I made, I think it was last week or whatever. I was just, talking about how the world, it's a rigged system that you're expecting to find. So essentially you're trying to find truth inside of a lie. Okay? Where do you think that's going to lead you? But then you'll have people comment that'll say, well, at least it's not communism. No, it is communism. They're just not selling it to you as communism. They're telling you have a choice in everything you do. But my rebuttal to that is, if you're truly free, okay, we could say, oh yeah, we have freedoms from, we're not North Korea. And that's the crazy part. I'll get to this in a second, but people will be like, we're not North Korea. At least they're not, kicking our doors down and making sure we have our, supreme leader pictures up that we polish and shine every day. Like you see all the crazy shit that happens in North Korea. So that's like their rationale to the whole thing is just because we haven't become North Korea yet, just because we're not in a complete, total dictatorship yet, that we're not living in communism. And my point is this: if you're truly free, a free man, as it's defined by the Constitution, as it's defined by the law of the land that was set long before any of us were, were even around, we are not free. Because there's not anything you can do that is not heavily regulated, heavily charged, taxed. I mean, there's nothing free anymore. There isn't. You can't even catch a fish without a license. Okay? You're supposed to be a free traveling person in this world. Okay? That as long as you're after life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, nobody's going to screw with you. Nobody's going to stop you from doing what you want to do. But nowadays, that's not enough. Nowadays, you have to bow down to your masters and make sure that they get a cut of whatever you're doing, and then you have the right to live your quote unquote freedom. But it's not only, freedom of the way we live, it's freedom to know the truth. Because in a country that is supposed to be life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and for the people, by the people, we wouldn't lie to ourselves. And it starts with stuff like Operation Northwoods. Now, for the people that don't know what Operation Northwoods is, essentially what they were trying to do long ago, okay, when this program was going on, we're talking the 60s era, they were trying to carry out mass shootings in America to blame it on the Cubans so they can go to war with Cuba. All declassified, all can be looked up, all verified. 100% fact. So, and like I said, I can give my opinions on stuff all day. And I'll tell people most of the time, I'm just commentating on things that are going on. But there's things like this that, based off the evidence, are provably true. There's some things that are true. There's some things that are undetermined, and there's some things that are false. This is a proven military operation that they were saying they wanted. But see, that's how they get you. Oh, we didn't carry it out. But it's the fact that this even crossed their mind. Mass shootings in America in order to perpetuate an agenda. Does that sound familiar to you guys at all? It sounds like some stuff we went through that, even in our lifetime from 2000 on, a lot of school events. And I'll drop some hints that people were getting sued over, that they called it, a hoax. And the guy's getting sued over it. They're trying to silence you and make you out to be a crackpot if you believe that mass shootings or any of these things could be carried out in order to strip you of your freedoms, or to push any agenda they want to push, like the Gulf of Tonkin incident. We've already proven and known for a long time that we bombed our own ship and blamed it on the Viet Cong so we could go into Vietnam. That's been proven. So, for a lack of a better word, or an easier way to categorize this type of thing, would be a false flag event. Okay, we all know, us people that are in this type of stuff, we know what a false flag event is, but I'll humor the people that may not know what it is. So a false flag is when somebody does something in order to make it look like somebody else did it. It's really that simple. So our government would do something to us and say, oh, it was Iran who did it. But this is just goes to show, based on Operation Northwoods, and this ain't the first operation either. Okay, there's operations all over the place that are going towards stripping you of, or not just instilling fear, but stripping you of your rights. I mean, if they're capable of doing that, why would they not be capable of doing 9/11? And then all of a sudden, out of 9/11 comes the Patriot Act, that people are like, oh, yes, please protect us from the bad guys. Please, we'll sign over whatever right we have to. And who was it that said that? I believe it was Benjamin Franklin that said, somebody who trades liberty for security does not deserve either one. I believe that's the saying, but that's the gist of it. And that's really what it is. If people are going to trade their liberty, and you're able to be shocked into a state of being completely terrified. And as I had said before, 2020, I seen enough of it back then, of people in a completely blanked out kind of state. It's hard to explain it. It's almost like a trauma. That's what I would say the best way to explain it is trauma-based mind control. And when you see it and know it, and anybody that's been in an abusive relationship, like a serious abusive relationship, they know what this type of traumatic mind control is, because they're inducing trauma in order for you to, what's wild is the one that's bringing the trauma is acting like they're bringing the solution, and then the people are just saying, oh, they're throwing themselves at their feet. Oh, please help us, please take care of us. But no, the biggest problem here is, I mean, are we going to sit around and just act like this doesn't exist? Because it does. And I find it crazy that it's the things like this that are the least amount talked about. And that's one of the biggest problems, is they're going to be able to pull more and more false events on us, because really it's all just a big beta test. They're seeing how much they can do, how much they can get away with. And that's really what it is. They want to see how much they can do to us before anybody does anything. And think about it. The more they push that button, they're like, oh, wow, they're not doing anything. They're not doing anything. So it's like a bully. A bully is pushing you and pushing you to see how far you'll go, if you'll fight back, or if you'll fight back at all. And that's what they're doing. They're cornering people to where there's going to be a point where people will have no choice for self-preservation but to react to what's going on, because they're going to continue to push their agenda to get you guys all in a very scared, docile state. I was having a talk with a few different people in the comments on a post I did the other day, and people, Americans, are getting delusional. Okay? They're getting delusional for this sense, because they're like, oh, when I posted something about the a war and the stuff I was hearing about, how it's very possible there's going to be a war happening, way bigger than Trump just bombing Iran. A major multi-war type of situation is going to jump off. Whether it's a false flag, well, I guess we'll have to see when that happens. But you have all these people that are saying, oh man, we're ready for a war of the United States and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, most people don't know how to break down a weapon, clean a weapon, operate a weapon. And we think just because we have all these firearms, we're going to do something. It's not 1955 anymore. Okay. Over 50% of the population's overweight. A huge amount of the population do not know how to properly handle a firearm. Most of the population is freaked out when their power goes out for a few days. They're not prepared for that. How in the hell is people prepared for a war when you're not prepared for a simple power outage? And that's the thing. If you think there's going to be boots on the ground when something happens here, like how they have all this stuff, they had the mass shootings and stuff before, this was the things they used to control us. If you think the New Age war will be fought like that, you're completely wrong. The New Age war is already being fought, and it's in cyberspace. They're doing it through propaganda now that they can feed you through internet and Facebook and social media. They can feed you all this propaganda in order to control your mind into thinking whatever they want. Because it's like a song they play on the radio that's just dog shit, and you're like, man, that song sucks. But what's funny is they play it and they play it and they play it until people are finally, singing the song every 2 seconds. You hear people, and they even think themselves, you know what? I hate this freaking song, but why do I keep singing it? That's a prime example of what they're doing. They're going to keep heating up the frog and heating up the frog until you boil. The frog's not going to jump out, because we would have jumped out. We would have jumped ship a long time ago. We would have said enough is enough a long time ago. You would have think when we provably knew they were poisoning our food, that would have been it. But no, they're carrying out all types of stuff. You have Trump now putting on a 2028 hat saying he's running for president again, though constitutionally he can't do that unless they, somehow do an amendment to the Constitution, which the House and Senate would have to agree on. Okay, but it's not going to happen unless they do, unless he's a true dictator, is going to do what he wants to do. But see, that's the type of stuff we're talking about. Total disregard for the Constitution, total disregard for, judicial, executive, legislative process. Everything is just completely stripped of what it was. And now we live, like I was saying, I was talking about this, what was it, last week or whatever. We're trying to get truth out of a lying, failed system. That's what it is. And they're going to continue to distract you with stuff. Like they show you Epstein files. They show you all this stuff. They're like, oh, they ain't going to do nothing about it. That's why they give us stuff like I showed you, Operation Northwoods. They provably tried to massacre American citizens, our military, our spec ops people, our black ops people. We're going to do this, okay? Get guys that look like they were Cuban and massacre in public Americans and blame it on Cuba just so they can go to war in Cuba. So like I'd said, if they'll do that, what else are they capable of? And this is provable. I mean, you can go on Wikipedia or wherever you want to go look up Operation Northwoods and go read the actual reports and read the actual files. I mean, this is not bullshit. This is reality. And I think that's where we're at right now. Okay, we are at an impasse where the line has been drawn in the sand. Okay, and most people, even those like myself that supported Trump, tried our best to make the system work, we're finally stepped over that line. Now there's people still on that side of the line, and there's always going to be people on that side of the line. So now the battle, a spiritual battle, possibly physical battle, all kinds of battles are getting ready to take place. So what's going to happen is the time is running out for people to realize what side of that line do you stand on? Do you stand on the line that realizes this all for what it is and you're fed up and you're going to stand for the truth? Or are you going to stand on that other side of the line and live in complete comfortable ignorance to everything that's going on and say, oh no, that's crazy, even though the facts are right in front of you? That's the craziest part. They'll still deny even though the facts are right in front of their face. I don't know about you guys, but I'm standing on the side for truth, and I will continue to stand on the side for truth.